Kia ora everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Renee, that's Mars. He's going to be chilling out on the couch back there. He'll probably get down a few times. Today I have a very big, very obnoxious pile of secondhand books that I want to show you. I have been to two amazing book fairs this month, one at the beginning of the month and one just yesterday. And I asked everyone on Instagram and they said they wanted to see a YouTube video, so here we are. There's a lot of books to get through, so I should probably just get started. I've got them in three piles. We've got poetry and classics, non-fiction, and then fiction. We'll start with the poetry and classics, shall we? I thought worth mentioning, in my last video, my summer TBR video, I got a comment from someone saying that it would be nice if I explained a little bit more about each book and what it was about, which is totally fair comment. I realize sometimes I can assume that everyone knows the books that I talk about in my videos and don't do a very good job at describing them, what they're about, blah blah blah. I will try to do better. I do find it hard talking about books that I haven't read. Yeah, I also don't want this video to be really long, and there's a lot of books to get through, so I'm going to be quite quick. Okay, first up we have To the Lighthouse by Virginia Woolf and The Waves by Virginia Woolf. Two classics. I don't think they need much explaining. Virginia Woolf is just one of those people that if I see a book that I don't own from her, I'll buy it. And so I did. Next I have Cat on a Hot Tin Roof by Tennessee Williams. This is a play. I haven't read a play or a drama before, but I like to try new things, so I thought I would pick this up. I think it's supposed to be like a family drama. Great, love a family drama. Next we have For Esme with Love and Squalor and Other Stories by J.D. Salinger. This is a collection of short stories. I'm not sure what they're about. I just saw it and thought, I've never seen that before. I'll have that, please. So I grabbed it. The Bloody Chamber by Angela Carter. This is a collection of children's stories from when I was growing up, and I'm sure many that kids today still know about and read and watch, but with a spooky, creepy, dark bent to them. I don't normally gravitate towards scary books, but I figured because these stories are quite familiar, it could be quite interesting to read, and it's only very small, so if I do get scared, it won't last long. I have a collection of poetry by Gwendolyn Riley. She is a poet that I have seen people talking about on Instagram, and I saw it and so I thought, let's give it a go. Poetry is pretty easy for me to just pick up on a whim and not think too much about what it is. I just want to give as much of it a go as I can. So yeah, this name was familiar to me, so I thought I'd pick it up. Oh, and it also says here that she's a winner of the Pulitzer Prize, so it's going to be good, right? I got a collection of poetry by Adrienne Rich, which I was very excited about. She is a poet that many people I follow and get really good recommendations from have talked about and love. So I was very happy to find this. I kind of feel like I manifested it. In my head, I went with the thought that I wanted to find something from Adrienne Rich at the book fair, and I did. So try it. Next we have Tropic of Squalor by Mary Carr, another book of poetry. Another book that has the word squalor in the title. Sorry about my dishwasher. It's very noisy. I can't stop it. Otherwise it's just going to keep making noise. I didn't know that Mary Carr wrote poetry. Know her for her memoir writing. Don't know what it's about. Just recognise the author and decided to get it. Next I got three collections of poetry by Louise Gluck. I got Averno, Seven Ages, and Meadowlands. Averno was one that I added to my list after seeing Katie James's recommendation review of it, and yeah, there was a bunch of other poetry at the book fair by Louise Gluck as well, so I thought I'd grab a couple others. I'm poetry spoiled from these book fairs, I tell you. Hedda Lindsay Bird's self-titled poetry collection. Hedda Lindsay Bird is a New Zealand poet and writer, and I have been wanting to read this for a long time. It is a contemporary collection of poetry, some very meditative and quite sparse poetry, musings on nature and womanhood. Yeah, a good mix of everything in here, so I'm really looking forward to getting into this one. And the last from the Poetry Classics section is not actually either of those. Well, I guess it could be a classic. It's House of the Talking Cat by J.C. Sturm. J.C. Sturm is a Māori poet, but this is a collection of her short stories. I first came about this book, or heard about this book, through the Instagram account Māori Lit Blog. A really amazing Instagram account that focuses on Māori literature. So if you are looking for recommendations for Māori literature or want to learn more about Māori literature and its interesting history, definitely give their account a follow. I'll leave her handle below. Ever since she reviewed and talked about this book, I knew I needed to have it. She, I believe, from my memory, said that it was a really important classic piece of New Zealand Māori literature history, and that if you can, definitely read it. So I was very stoked to find this. It's like obviously a republished edition, but it's in very nice condition, and I'm very excited about getting into it. I think the short stories are kind of everyday domestic type short stories in New Zealand, obviously my kind of favourite short story, so I am very excited about this. Probably the find of the entire book fairs, I would say. Next we've got non-fiction. This is obnoxiously big. First up I have Call Them By Their Names by Rebecca Solnit. American Crises and Essays. I think these are quite political essays. They were published in 2018 amidst a very interesting time in America. A lot of political issues that they're still dealing with, I would say, like police shootings and prison reform. I am interested to see how this goes. I think Rebecca Solnit is supposed to be a really good writer. I haven't actually read anything from her yet, and I own quite a few of her books, so I really should get to something quick. Next I picked up When I Was a Child, I Read Books by Marilyn Robinson. This is another collection of essays. I'm not sure exactly what they're about, but this title has always kind of interested me. I'm sure it's going to talk about literature and how it's impacted her life. Obviously, Marilyn Robinson's style of writing is very thoughtful and meditative, so I think it would be very good in an essay. I picked up I'm Not Your Negro by James Baldwin. As a documentary that was created from the unfinished project that James Baldwin was doing before he died. And these are, I believe, the written materials that the documentary based itself off of. So I haven't seen the documentary. I do really want to watch it. Compiled and edited by Raoul Peck. So interesting to see how someone's work finished or completed posthumously. Is that how you say it? Homos? No. Posthumous. Homos? Homos. You know what I'm trying to say. God. Next I got The Heart of a Woman by Maya Angelou. This is one of her memoirs. It focuses a lot on black writers and artists in Harlem, and then also the civil rights activist Martin Luther King. I got Strangeland by Tracy Emin. This is her memoir. Tracy Emin is an artist, an English artist who creates a lot of installation type art. You hear the rain? It's rained so much here lately, it's so depressing. It's supposed to be summer in a few days and this weather is just absolute bullshit. Anyway, this is her memoir. It will be talking about her kind of childhood growing up. Her family immigrated to London from Turkey, so that's something about her I didn't know. I've always been interested in Tracy Emin's art, so when I saw this I thought I will want to read that, so I grabbed it. We have Paula by Isabel Allende. This is her memoir about the time when her daughter became sick and fell into a coma. She is reflecting on her own childhood. I'm going to close the windows because it's probably very noisy. Oh no, books everywhere. Okay, that's the best I can do. I think this is quite a spiritual kind of memoir and it's going to look at a lot of kind of familial themes which I really enjoy reading about, especially mother-daughter relationships. Pilgrim at Tinku Creek by Annie Dillard. This is a memoir about Annie Dillard's year spent in Virginia's Blue Ridge Valley. I don't particularly gravitate towards nature writing, but I'm always willing to try new things. As long as I know that it's like good writing and that the writer is going to do it well, then I can kind of look past the subject. Annie Dillard's supposed to be an amazing writer, so I thought I would try that one. Why I Read, The Serious Pleasure of Books by Wendy Lesser. I've never heard about this book before. I just saw it and the title caught my eye. I think that subtitle, The Serious Pleasure of Books, really kind of is what drew me in as well. I don't know this writer or their work, so it could be just like very average, but there is a portion in the book about like books as an object, which is obviously something that I appreciate. There's also a reading list in the back here, 100 books to read for pleasure. So if anything, if it's terrible, I have a new reading list that I can refer to. Just what I need, more books to read. Chronology of Water by Lydia Yuknavitch. This is her memoir. I didn't really know who Lydia Yuknavitch was. I've seen her book of short stories, Verge, and floating around on Instagram. And yeah, saw this, so I thought I would grab it. It sounds like she had a pretty interesting and hard life. Yeah, it's kind of her story of how she got through all that and has become the writer she is. A few people said that this was really good, so I'm looking forward to reading that. Next I have Mouthful of Blood by Toni Morrison. This is a compilation of essays, speeches, lectures, talks that she has delivered over her very long career. They have an array of different subjects and themes at the center of them, and she's given some pretty incredible talks at different places. She gave a eulogy for James Baldwin. That's pretty amazing. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to getting into that. Mothers, Fathers and Others, new essays by Siri Hustvedt. I think the title speaks pretty clearly as to what this is about. Essays about those types of relationships and famous women throughout history, like Emily Bronte and Louise Bourgeois. Kind of look forward to how that is explored in this. It looks very dense. Sister Outsider by Audre Lorde. Seminal feminism text written by a very important black writer, poet and feminist, Audre Lorde. I think this is exactly what I need in my reading at the moment. Next I have Bloody Women by Lana Lopesi. This is a collection of essays written by a Samoan woman, writer and critic from a Pacifica point of view. So she talks about womanhood and the female experience, feminism, and obviously menstruation through the title Bloody Woman. But yeah, from a Pacifica lens. So that will be very interesting to read as well. Next I got Empire of Pain by Patrick Radden Keefe. It is the story of the Sackler family, who are the family that developed the drug OxyContin and basically single-handedly created the opioid epidemic in America. I think a lot of people have read this book. It's quite big, so I think I'm gonna try to pair it with audio as well. Yeah, I've been wanting to read this for a long time. Okay, that's all the non-fiction. Let's move on to the fiction. I am going to try to run through these really quickly. I've got two piles because one pile was too big. First up we have Please Call Me Jesus by Samuel Tekani. Samuel is a sex journalist and writer based in Auckland here. He also, I don't know if he still does, but he works at Coco's Cantina on K Road, and that's where I recognised his little picture in the back. Yeah, so these are a collection of short stories that I believe explore queerness and sexuality and sex, basically. Yeah, I was very happy to find that. I got Mother Night by Kurt Vonnegut. I've not read any Kurt Vonnegut before, so I don't know if this is a good place to start, if anyone's read it. It definitely sounds like quite different. It's like a World War II kind of crime novel, but it has the words black humour and satiric voice on the back, so that was kind of what made me think it could be quite good. The Third Hotel by Laura Vandenberg. I was very excited to find this. It's a story about a woman who travels to Cuba to see the premiere of her late husband's film. After the film is premiered, she starts to see him around Havana and is kind of confronted by him and their marriage, and perhaps made to look and examine a bit harder. Maybe it wasn't quite as rosy as she remembered type story. We have The Heart by Amélie de Kerangal. This is a story set over 24 hours, which is kind of a type of novel that I quite enjoy, something that's set in a really condensed amount of time. At the beginning, I think a group of boys get into a car accident, and one of them is like brain dead and is able to donate his heart to another woman who is dying. So yeah, lots of themes of life and death, and apparently it's supposed to be really beautifully written and kind of profound and poetic. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. It kind of sounds really cheesy if you read the blurb on the back, but I've heard a lot of people say that they quite enjoyed it. I got Amulet by Roberto Bolaño. This is set in 1968 in Mexico. The army has just invaded this university, and this woman, young student, is the only one left after that, and she spends 12 days on the campus on her own. She starts to hallucinate, and there are definitely like unreliable narrator vibes to this one, I think. And it actually reminds me a bit of The Promise by Silvina Ocampo, which is a similar premise. A woman falls overboard a ship and starts to remember her life, and slowly throughout the book you start to question whether or not she is sound of mind. Yeah, reading this, it kind of reminded me of that. Next I got Three Summers by Margarita Liberaki. This is a translated piece of fiction from the Greek. It is the story of three sisters who live in Athens, and I'm assuming we journey with them across 3 summers and their experiences with each other, with their mother, different loves, all those kinds of life lessons you learn as a young woman. I got Don't Tell Alfred by Nancy Mitford. I haven't read any of her writing. I have The Pursuit of Love by her, and so I just thought I would give this one a go as well, so I picked that up. Sounds like it could be quite a funny story about a housewife who is kind of uprooted from her normal life and thrown into this very glamorous one when her husband gets a new job. I'm hoping it's funny. I picked up Memento Mori by Muriel Spark. This sounds like a bit of a thrillery type suspense novel about a group of older women who are being tormented by this anonymous phone caller. Yeah, there's some kind of threat to them. Perhaps some kind of big secret is being threatened to come out. So another one that a lot of people said was really, really good. I got another copy of Beloved by Toni Morrison. I already own this book, but it's in a hardcover. And I quite like these editions, these vintage editions. I'd like to collect all of them. I just think they're very beautiful, simple, but classic, and very recognizable as Toni Morrison. So, I mean, this is probably her most famous book. I haven't read it. I know that that's a crime. I really have no excuse. I hear it's a kind of a ghost story. Character at the center of it is a slave, and she spends her years kind of being haunted by the ghost of her baby. And the baby's name is Beloved. I need to read it. Next I got Euphoria by Lily King. I actually already own this book, but I really preferred this cover, so I grabbed this one. Yeah, I don't really know what this is about, but I really enjoyed Writers and Lovers by Lily King, so I'm hoping that it's kind of like a similar, easy, but good writing love story. Because I feel like I'm in the mood for something like that, without it being super cheesy or cringe. I don't know if this is a love story at all. It says on the back that it's about 3 anthropologists in the 1930s, so very different, but 3 people, hey, could still be a love triangle. We love that. I also picked up Frankenstein by Jeanette Winterson. Terrible name for a book, Frankenstein. Yeah, interesting kind of premise to this is it's these different stories kind of all connected by this theme of this genetic modification and love. So these stories all have those 2 things in common, and then there's also a part of the book that is set in 1816, and you're following Mary Shelley just before she's about to write Frankenstein. So that is obviously the inspiration for this book, and the other stories kind of feed off of that. I hope it's good. I picked up Women by Charles Bukowski. I don't think I need to really talk about this. It is what it is. Charles Bukowski. I know a lot of people don't like him. I haven't read any of his stuff yet, but a friend of mine has read him and really enjoys his writing, so I want to give it a go. I got Difficult Women by Roxane Gay. This is a collection of short stories. Each story kind of centers around a female character, and they all have very different experiences and backgrounds. I think it's going to be good. Knowing Roxane Gay's work and her essays and having enjoyed them, I think it makes sense for her to write a collection of short stories about different women's experiences. So I really look forward to reading that. This one I was very happy to find, On Earth We Are Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong. I feel as though I'm probably the last person on the internet in the book community to have read this book, and I've been waiting for it to pop up at a book fair, so I was very excited to pick that up. I don't really feel like this one needs a lot of explaining, but it is semi-auto-fiction, I think. It's written from the narrator, a young queer man, to his mother who can't read, and so it's this very kind of confessional type letter where he vulnerably talks about his experience growing up, and yeah, it's supposed to be extremely like heartbreaking and beautiful all in one. I am very much looking forward to reading this. I haven't read any of his writing. Last little pile of fiction. I know this video is so long. I'm sorry. I'm gonna go through these quickly because these are like multiple author books. So I picked up 3 books from Iris Murdoch. I got The Black Prince, An Unofficial Rose, and Henry and Cato. I'm not really going to talk about these books. I'm just going to say, like, Iris Murdoch is someone that when I see a secondhand book or a book at a book fair, I usually will pick it up if it's reasonably priced, because her stuff does pop up quite a bit at things like that. So yeah, another person that I'm like, I don't know where to start. Where should I start? Tell me. Then I picked up 2 Cormac McCarthy's. I got Blood Meridian, which is something I've been looking for years, off a recommendation from Gareth, who works at the tattoo shop next to me. We were chatting books one day and he said, have I read this? I said no. He said I should. I finally found myself a copy, so I'll be telling Gareth about this next week. And then I got Sutri. I don't know what this is about. I know that Cormac McCarthy is like a Southern Gothic writer, perhaps a little bit Western. And then I have 4 books by Anita Bruckner. I have A Closed Eye, Fraud, The Debut, and The Bay of Angels. I think I mentioned in my last vlog where I went to a book fair that she's like an auto buy for me at book fairs. Her books always pop up. I always buy them if I don't have them. And I still have not read any of hers. So maybe I need to stop buying them and just read one, because if I don't like her, then that's going to be bad. The genesis for her stories are always really interesting to me. I'll quickly go through these ones, because this one's about a young woman who goes on a trip with her mother and her mother's new husband. While they're there, he has an accident, and the mother and daughter are forced to kind of navigate this unfamiliar place. I believe, yeah, they go to Nice, so definitely about mother-daughter relationships and kind of having to rely on each other in tough situations. The Debut is about a woman who has dedicated her life to literature. She's a professor, and she's looking back and somewhat regretting her choices, particularly when it's come to her career in life, and is wondering if she should have made different choices and kind of wants to make a fresh start. Fraud is about an older woman who lives in a flat in London. She goes missing, and the police are trying to find her, and the story is kind of a portrait of her as a person, but it's built up and told through those people around her. It's an interesting idea of making a character the center of the story without actually featuring them. And then The Closed Eye is about 2 childhood friends and their daughters. We've got double childhood friendships going on here. You know, I love a fraught childhood friendship story. So those are the Anita Bruckners, and then the last 5 books that I have are all again from one author, Tessa Hadley. I got this recommendation for this author from Raquel on Instagram. I'll leave her handle below. I managed to find one of her books at another book fair, and then I had the jackpot yesterday and I couldn't decide which one to get, so I just got all of them because they were like $1 and they were in pristine condition. This one is the old one out. I got Married Love, Clever Girl, The Master Bedroom, Bad Dreams, and The London Train. Yeah, she's a writer that Raquel thought I might enjoy, so when I saw the books yesterday, I thought, why not? Let's just go all out. Let's just do it and deal with the consequences later on, which is where am I going to put all these books? Oh, okay, my camera's about to die and I finished, so I'm gonna go now. Thanks for watching. I love you all. Bye.